there's a certain set of behaviors that happens in a condominium development. Okay, firstly, to explain the phenomenon, let me give you the quick summary first. The quick summary is that projects that tends to go on an up tier tends to have a higher chance to continue the uptrend. Why is that so? Now, it has a lot to do with the project itself, because take note, we're not talking about a singular project. We're talking about a community. Now, a condominium is a community. When you buy into a strata development, you're buying into a community. Why? Because the very fact that you need to contribute 2 sets of money every month into your MCST already tells you are buying into a community. So firstly, you pay for maintenance fee, all right? Secondly, you pay for something called a sinking fund. Sinking fund is used when, let's say after 7 or 8 years, your condo calls for a tender from painters to repaint the exterior of the project. They will use and tap into a sinking fund. When your lift needs to go for a major upgrading, they tap into the sinking fund. And sometimes when there's not enough sinking fund, they call for additional fund for all the owners. Everybody maybe contribute $1,000 and pay into that sinking fund so that you can do work together. Now, this is, of course, the community fund. So in short, sinking fund is called community fund. So when you buy into a strata development, firstly, take note, you're not owning the land. You're owning the airspace, occupying the land. And everybody that occupies a strata unit in the airspace, they own the land technically together for that 99 years or maybe for that freehold period. That is the reason why when you buy into a strata condominium or apartment, you're buying firstly into the rights of your airspace, as well as you're buying into this community. That's why everybody that owns an airspace can come down to utilize the common usage and the pool, the gym and everything, the clubhouse and all that kind of stuff, right? Now that we know that, okay, this is sort of like buying into a community, let's move on to the second point. The very fact that you're buying into this community with 778 units and you're one of the owners here, that means you have 777 other neighbors that also own this community together. There is this new thing that will then evolve. I call it the herd mentality. Herd mentality happens on 2 fronts. Number 1, when everybody buys into the project when it was launched by the developer at the show flat, and let's say from year 2004 until 2005, and we can then easily track back to the transactions. You just need to go down here and look at this new sale and when did the new sale ended. All right. So new sale will end around here. Okay, the last new sale concludes in 2007. That means there was some balance units because perhaps 2006 there was like a subprime crisis. All right, so it took a little bit long to sell off this project. And I remember Coven Melody and maybe Coven Residences back then, they probably had like 2 launch phases. I need to recall my memory, but I remember very clearly Coven Residences has 2 launch phases because there was a subprime crisis back then in US. And things were a little bit wonky in a global fashion. So it took a little bit to sell, but of course, all the owners that bought that time, to have a look at how much PSF it was back then, it's only like $500-600 per square foot. Okay, so now when you look at this, it means that this project sold out between 2004 to 2007, and all these owners that bought back then, they all bought it at about $500 per square foot to $600 per square foot. It's quite consistent, and when you buy into that together, what's going to happen is that you will think the same way. Why is that so? It's because just imagine now you bought into a brand new project here in today's day and age. And let's say you bought it at $2,000 per square foot in the year 2023 with the rest of the 700 odd buyers that bought at the show flat at the same time. And you waited 3 years for this project to complete. What's going to happen is that when you take your keys 3 years later, you open the door, you go into your unit, you bought at $2,000 per square foot, what are the chances that after waiting for 3 years in the year 2026, somebody walks up to you and said, hey, I understand you bought this property at 3 years ago, 2023, $2,000 per square foot. Can you sell me today, 2026 at $2,000 per square foot? Now, what would you say? Would you sell it? The high chance is that likely you won't, because maybe you have bought a unit for stay, you don't want to sell, you will either just rent it out or you will move in. You waited 3 years because maybe these 3 years you are staying with your in-laws or maybe at your parents' place or you've been renting. Finally, you got a chance to move in this brand new project, you wouldn't stay. And the gist and the crux of the herd mentality is that you will not be the only owner to think like this. All the 700 owners will be thinking like this. And they will be having the same mentality. Maybe their mindset is that I bought at $2,000 per square foot. I will only sell if somebody offer me $2,003 to $2,004 per square foot. I want to see at least a $400 PSF gain. Then I will part with my key. If not, there's no motivation for me to sell because I'm doing okay. I still am running my business. I'm having my job. We're doing income. My kids are happy here. I don't want to sell. So this is the first herd mentality that happens in a project series through time. The first one is that during the launch phase to the key collection phase, there's this first round of herd mentality. We call it a group think. A group think, GROUPTHINK, a group think will happen here. And then moving on, the group think will actually stretch. What do I mean by this? Now, take note when you look at this graph. Some of the owners that have been staying there from day one, they still have not sold yet. And they have been staying there since 2006 until today for the last 17 years. They have bought at $500 to $600 per square foot. A 3-bedder back then cost them only about $700,000 to $800,000. Now, they can sell a 3-bedder for maybe about $1.8 million if you've seen the asking price just now. So they bought at about $800,000. They can exit at 1.8. They are sitting on a profit margin of $1 million. There's no need for them to panic sell. They can take equity arrangement for the bank to extract the value and the capital. If they want to sell because they want to move to a next home, a bigger home or landed property, or they want to downsize and wait 15 months to pay off HDB, they can easily do that. And that could be one of the reasons why Condominium has only 5 listings. And because of this, the chances of this project going on an uptrend is even more. Why? It's because the holding power of the existing group of owners that have not exited, or people that have bought in maybe in 2010, at 700 plus per square foot, bought it at 2012 at 1030 per square foot, and today is averagely about $1,400 to $1,500 per square foot. And take note, every time as an existing owner, if let's say you were to be somebody that is owning a property in Condominium, you see that the last transaction is at 1471 PSF, and you look at what is available now in the market. Let's say you go back to Property Guru, you type in Condominium. The mindset of the existing owner is that I don't want to sell lower than my past neighbor. That is also the reason why there are owners that are calling for 1480 or maybe even 1680 or 1526 PSF. And that is one of the core rationale, because the fresh new owners that want to put a property market, they will reference to a few key data points. Bank valuation, how much did my neighbor sold previously? What are the people that are putting their property in the market now asking for? I take these 3 things combined, bank valuation plus transaction and asking price of other people now. Then I form a decision that now if I want to put my property in the market, if I'm high, low floor, facing the road or facing the pool or facing the landed facing, and my renovation has sunk in, my next one that I want to buy, I take all these things combined and I form a decision on how much I want to price my property. So usually by understanding this, then it gives us a little bit more insights on how the existing owners are thinking. Then it helps us to make a nice viewpoint of collaborating all this thought process to analyze a project together.